Yeah, but you want him, Tom, don't you? Seahawk fans want a hero, and you denied him.
Not that bad.
Don't lie to me. I checked all the Seahawk fan blogs and chat rooms. They're all calling for your head. Ever since you traded away Callahan, the barbarians are at the gate.
I don't care about that.
Yeah, you do. You and I both know it. I have the golden ticket now, Tom, and if I give it to you, you get to save Seahawk football in Seattle.
The following is a presentation of Hobson Media. Woohoo!
All right, what's up? Not really an opening statement guy, but I will open with this statement. I'm fired up to be here.
This is Church Pew Sports.
Who's got it better than us?
Where we connect sports to life and faith.
Could you repeat that first part?
Take a knee.
Absolutely glorious.
Lend an ear.
I believe it's going to be for the best.
Then get ready to laugh, listen, and learn.
How about you announce that you're getting better?
No matter your team, your favorite sport.
Bowling. Bowling's insane. Bowling is crazy time.
We cover it all here on Church Pew Sports.
And we want to pump you up.
Gentlemen, start your engines, brothers.
Well, the engines are started, and so is this episode of Church Pew Sports, where we connect sports to life and faith, and it is so good to have you all with us as we bring you an NFL draft preview conversation along with a whole lot of other stuff, and it's good to connect. It's not easy, by the way, to corral the busy schedules of all of the people involved in this podcast, so it's always good for us, really, just as the guys who are hosting it, to get together and see each other in a Zoom window and check in and see how everybody's doing. A little word, by the way, of housekeeping for those of you who listen faithfully. And Paul Miller, who is with us, Pastor Paul Miller, you don't even know this, but after our prior episode, I got a text from one of our faithful listeners who said, "Why in the middle of the episode did I all of a sudden hear an advertisement for alcohol?" And I had no idea. You know how I kind of joke from time to time that we're generating upwards of 8 to 10 cents a month in revenue? Well, yeah. I had checked this little button that kind of activated advertising within the show. But I had no idea what they were putting in it, because once we do this show, it's not like I go back and listen to the whole thing from start to finish. So my bit of housekeeping here at the very beginning is I have unchecked that box, and we will willingly forfeit the 8 to 10 cents a month that we've been generating. I hope I did that with your approval, Paul. I didn't ask David yet, but I think we're going to be each out roughly 2 to 3 cents a piece. So if that was the wrong decision, please let me know now.
Oh, I'm fully supportive of that, Bill. I mean, maybe if the right commercials were coming on, we could do it. But, you know, once you go down that rabbit hole, there's no coming back.
Right, so. Exactly right. It's good to see you. Paul is in Minneapolis. I think he's doing some ministry over at the Leering Center as he gets ready for another road trip coming up soon. And how long has it been since we have welcomed onto this podcast the official legal counsel for Church Pew Sports, D. Randall Gilmer, all the way from Las Vegas, the home of the Golden Knights. Randy, how are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you? Glad to be back. Been a minute.
We're glad to have you. We've had your son on a couple times because we had to do a wellness check on him after Duke lost in historic fashion in the tournament. You've talked to him more than we have. How's he doing now? Is it all kind of settled down a little bit?
Yeah, I think he's doing better. I do appreciate the wellness check, though, because I was being the good father and giving him his space, especially after hearing, about, I'm going to have to hear it from my dad and my brother and my family. So I was glad to know that you, as a good friend, checked on him to check out the wellness standard, because I was concerned that I would not be able to do it without tongue in cheek. So he's doing great. He and wife are doing great, and he's getting ready to start a summer class at UNC. He's doing a quick little 12-week thing at UNC. So where he's very excited because, as a long story short, they don't get to have front license plates in North Carolina. He really likes having a front license plate, but there's an exception for people at UNC It's a long story. He can tell you the story.
Wait,
but now
what?
UNC has to buy him a license plate, and it's going to be a Duke license plate. So he just thinks that that's the best, best of the world.
Awesome. There's a story for us to unpack there somewhere. I don't understand anything of what you just said. And just for the record, Randy, don't give us too much credit. We were fully tongue-in-cheek as we were checking in on Josh. And
yes.
I mean, I'm sure Paul had his pastor's hat on, but I had my Michigan hat on. Tried to win him over, but he just wouldn't do it. You could not get him to come over to the Maize and Blue. We expect, by the way,
he did end up rooting for Michigan at the end of the day.
Well,
so it helped that everybody at the school wanted UConn to lose. So I think that helped him come on board quicker.
Rooting for one or against the other, the outcome was still the same. By the way, we do anticipate at some point here in the near future being joined by David Collins to talk NFL draft. And Paul, one of the reasons we wanted to have Randy come on was to have this conversation about this NIL era in which we currently operate. And in light of I thought a pretty interesting article featuring Michigan athletic director, the embattled Ward Manuel, I thought we would bring Randy on to kind of get some thoughts and talk about the role of an athletic director in this era. So I'll let you kind of set it up.
Yeah, Bill, I read the article, the athletic article, and I thought, that was actually a pretty even-handed critique of the Ward Manuel era. But I don't pretend to follow Michigan sports close enough to really have an informed opinion on the overall performance of him in the role of AD. I know I've heard you guys talk about your frustration with him and throughout some of the scandals and some of the junk that's gone on recently, but then he hires Dusty May, and that obviously was a great move. And so it's a little bit of a mixed bag. And so I'm really excited to have Randy on, because really I just want to hear the Michigan guys talk about what they think of Ward Manuel. I like Ross Bjork, the athletic director at Ohio State. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't know what he does. I know that he's raises money for the university, and I know he manages a really big budget, but I don't really know beyond that. Feels to me like the athletic department there kind of runs itself, but I think Ward is a little more of a controversial figure and a little bit of a lightning rod for criticism. So I just want to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, Randy, start us off, because I don't think you would have minded had he been fired in the Harbaugh aftermath. And now that a national title has come to the basketball team from the coach that he did hire, where are you in the Ward Manuel assessment?
Dusty May. Although there's been a lot of speculation that John Beilein actually helped close that deal, but be that as it may, he's the athletic director. He hired him, so congratulations to him on that. I still think he needs to go. I did not appreciate the way he treated Harbaugh from the sounds of things. And I mean, I realize Harbaugh is by all accounts, is also a pretty tough personality. I get that, but I did not appreciate that he kind of let Harbaugh out to dry in what I think was a ludicrous cheating scandal. And whether Harbaugh was going to go pro or not, I think he should have done exactly what he said at Dusty May's press conference, although apparently Dusty May's contract isn't done yet either, but he should have said, we've already got a deal. This is done. It's sitting on his desk to be signed. And, make Harbaugh say, I appreciate it, but I'm leaving. I think that there was enough red flags with Sharon Moore that's come out now since that as a leader, he should have known that this was not necessarily the right decision to hire Sharon. Now that cuts both ways, I understand, because Coach Harbaugh brought him in and he was his handpicked successor. So Ward could say, well, I was just doing what Harbaugh wanted me to do for all you Harbaugh supporters out there. But at the same time, that's what happened with Sharon Moore was a real issue of scandal as far as I'm concerned. And so that was problematic. And a lot of one thing that they didn't talk about in that article, which has kind of been glossed over, is there's also been some controversy in the hockey side of things at Michigan as well. And they didn't even talk about that. And some of the hiring at the hockey and some COVID related issues. And I think it was hazing and bullying type stuff. if I recall correctly, although I might be completely wrong on that, but they didn't even talk about that in that article. So I think as a whole, I appreciate that he hired Dusty. I think it's time for him to move on. I think hopefully the Jenner and Block investigation will point that out as well, because I think at the end of the day, it's important that the coaches not embarrass the school.
Yeah, is that the investigation that's going on, trying to figure out what's going on in the fallout of Sharon, right? Is this
to use the old Watergate quote, when did he know and what did he know and when did he know it type thing, and should he, was he slow rolling it and he knew that this was, knew this was going on? Should he, was he trying to wait to fire him for cause? So I do think that report will be telling, but yeah, I'm not a fan. I will not be sad if he goes, but obviously he does get credit for hiring Dusty, and congratulations for that and the national championship.
There's an interesting pull quote, by the way, in this story. And by the way, Paul, I mean, it's from the New York Times, which owns The Athletic, so it's from The Athletic.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think you had to pay for us to read this. It says that you sent a gift subscription to it or something, so it was behind a paywall, and so you may have blown the 10 cents of the budget that we've already forfeited. You're going to be operating in a deficit here.
That's just New York Times trying to obligate you guys to read stuff. I didn't have to pay for that, but but the sentiment was there. I hoped you read it, because I actually, like I said, I thought it was pretty interesting. What I don't know, because there's been a whole lot of junk that's been flowing downstream in the Michigan athletic program, right? And I don't know if that's because of some of the battles with the NCAA and some of the football stuff and everything else, that all of a sudden everything gets put out in the spotlight for people to see. I don't know if the number of assistant coaches and other things doing stupid things and making stupid choices is more or less at Michigan compared to any other big school athletic program like that. And so it's just weird when the spotlight's on you, everything just tends to magnify. That's why I wanted to find out what you guys thought,
Well, there's this quote in the middle of the story. It says from Ward Manual. It says, "You can't do what we've done. If people want to say you have a bad culture, you can't do it. You just can't have that level of success across the board. We have great people here. That's what gives me great happiness to be here as athletic director." And as I read that, I think to myself, I went to Michigan. I graduated from Michigan, so everybody knows where I'm coming from. But Ward, you actually can have high levels of success while doing things the wrong way. I mean, it's possible. I mean, does anybody remember the Oklahoma Sooners under Barry Switzer? Does anybody remember the Hurricanes under Jimmy Johnson? How much deeper do you want me to go? We can go on and on. So you can have success, although Michigan is enjoying a pretty spectacular level of it across the various sports right now. But that quote was like, man, dude, you can't tee it up like that for somebody to come along and say, yeah, you got that one wrong as well. So it's another example of all that. Let me turn the question then to the broader concept of the role of an athletic director in the NIL era, because it's not the same as it was in the Don Canham days, or name your other favorite athletic directors in history. It's very different now, to the point where a number of top-level programs have an athletic director and now also have a general manager,
right? Or
a director of operations, or whatever title you want to give them. That's interesting. So, Paul, where do you think the AD's role has rolled into?
I think the AD's role is more PR and public face and all that kind of stuff, because you have the general manager who's doing his stuff, and then you have the capologist, like a pro program, right? There's somebody who's just trying to figure out how they're going to spend their NIL money and all this other stuff. And I think in the era of the really loose NIL rules, the athletic director is the guy who has to decide how close their program is going to walk to the edge of legal and appropriate and all that kind of stuff. And so it's just I don't know, man. It's just a new day. I couldn't sit here and tell you, here's the top 5 things in a typical athletic director's job description. but I know you're making some hires, you're replacing coaches here and there and everything else. And that's a very inexact science because, like Dusty May gets hired on the heels of, who was the guy, Juwan Howard, who didn't end his tenure well. And so you give credit, like Randy, you said, you give credit where credit is due, and you celebrate the wins, and you spin the losses however you can,
Yeah, and we look at things like now navigating through personal licensing or corporate licensing questions for your conference and for your stadium. I think the athletic director is involved, especially in the Big Ten, involved in TV rights negotiations. I don't think the Big Ten ADs have a huge amount of confidence in the commissioner of the conference, Petiti, so they're all having to pour themselves into that a bit more. Randy, how do you think this job or this role has changed? Let's just say even in the last 8 years, the job of athletic director.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, obviously, as we're in this world of NIL and, as we see with the wonderful world of legal money, how the Big Ten is moving quickly to advance past the SEC in many things, now that there's a level playing field there. So I do think that is obviously a massive role of it. And I think in order to keep that train going, you need to have coaches that the players want to get behind to play for and that the fans want to support. So I still think at the end of the day, getting the coaching hires is still probably number one as to what they should do. And then give the coaches a support by giving them NIL money to do that, which by all accounts Ward has done when it comes to Dusty May and also did it for Sharon. That goes back to my criticisms as to why he didn't do it for Harbaugh. So, but because again, he was a little, and maybe, he would maybe say that he was, slow to the table because he wasn't sure what the environment was going to look like and, didn't want to get caught flat-footed. And, Michigan, for having the term leaders and best, a lot of times is not trailblazers when it comes to trying to do new things and thinking outside the box. Once they're there, they're a huge conglomerate with lots and lots of money once they got on board, but they're not normally the ones that are trying to become cutting edge in those areas.
Yeah, I think that's like a Big Ten thing, right? Because like Ohio State hires Ross Bjork from Texas A&M. And he was like famous for like the huge Jimbo Fisher contract and like all the money that he was raising for A&M sports, right? And then he comes into Ohio State and instantly starts becoming this Big Ten kind of sort of conservative guy, right? And so it feels like it's relative. There's still plenty of money flowing through Columbus, right? But it's the Big Ten, I think, has a personality of conservatism when it comes to that stuff. I don't know how many programs in the Big Ten we would say live on the edge of pushing the NIL rules compared to some of the other conferences, right? So I don't know what that is. I don't know why that's the case.
Well, there was a time when you would look at the Big Ten and think that they are the corn-fed guys in Iowa. They're the big brutes in Nebraska. There's the 3 yards in a cloud of dust in Ann Arbor under Bo, and there's the Woody program, and there's these iconic homegrown personalities that come with your favorite program or your favorite rival. And you know what you're going to get. You know how they're going to play. You just got to beat them because you got to be better at your game than they are at theirs. I don't know if there's a single prototype that you can template over top of a team because the personnel changes so much. Yeah. Every bit of it changes. The coordinators change so often. The head coach is not quite as much, but there's still some turnover. But, let's just take Michigan, for example. We get a quarterback in Underwood, and during one spring game, now there's talk about this kid named Carr, and maybe he's going to push it for everything's up for grabs. So in the athletic director role, I think you guys can tell me if I'm all wet here, but I think there was a time when the AD could come into a program and put his stamp on it. Mm-hmm. I don't think that happens anymore. I think that the NIL machine controls the stamp on the program, and the AD now is there trying to keep all the plates spinning, do a great deal of fundraising. By the way, there's not nearly the compliance concerns that we used to have.
Right.
When's the last time you heard about a kid having to sit out from Prop 48? Terry Mills, right? I mean, it's been forever.
Yeah.
But that used to be part of the athletic director's juggling act. We've got to work hard because this recruit, he's not quite meeting our admission requirements, so I need to make a couple of calls. If that's happening, maybe it is. If that's happening now, I certainly don't hear anything about it. And the changing role in this position, I think, is fascinating. And one of these days, I will get the athletic director from Saginaw Valley to join us to talk about that. It's a fascinating study kind of in the transition of sports. And as we continue along, we're going to flip the script from college over to the NFL. David Collins is with us, fresh off of making sure the Pistons got this dub in game 2. David, well done. Are you tired from that? You got a lot of minutes.
Yeah, I'm a little worn out. Losing 11 straight home playoff games is never fun, but I brought the energy tonight. I kept the boys focused. I made sure that our offense was playing off our defense, and we went out and got the job done. So proud of the guys.
46 all at half, and all of a sudden you're up 22 in the blink of an eye. How did it happen? What did you say to the guys at the half?
Honestly, I just told them, I said, guys, you're trying to force your own shot too much. You're not looking to find your teammate. And again, as I said before, it's about defense. It was the defensive intensity. Sor Thompson knocking the ball away, Stu with a couple big blocks. Those lead to transition buckets. And what ends up happening is the best defensive team in the league puts you away pretty quick. Also, go Tigers.
If they didn't win tonight, Bill, I think that there was going to be another program trying the lawyer down play that you showed us earlier this week. So they were going to have to do some desperate measures if they didn't pull that out this evening.
Just for the sake of context, please, Paul and David, and to all of our listeners, give me 60 seconds to tell you what Randy's talking about, please. Now, David knows that up at Hiawatha Youth Camp, when we were located in the Upper Peninsula, there was a small basketball court that got most of the action versus the full court. And in one particular balmy summer afternoon, my son Bo and I were playing against Randy Gilmer and camp director Craig Walker. Just 2-on-2, just half court 2-on-2. And at one point, they have the ball. Craig's holding the ball, I believe it was, up at the top of the arc. And Randy collapses down to the cement and starts yelling, "Lawyer down, lawyer down." Bo and I turn to look. Randy gets up, cuts to the basket, gets a layup. And they believe that in the annals of basketball, since Naismith put up the peach basket, that might have been the greatest single innovation in play calling. David, my question for you is, could you have stopped lawyer down?
I mean, it depends how convincing he was as to someone being hurt. I mean, if it's just...
He got an Oscar.
He's got to sell the performance. And if it's sold right, it's a tough one to stop.
He got an Oscar for it. He just got an Oscar.
Kind of like LeBron, right? It's kind of that's what we see going on with LeBron these days.
Well, but Randy got back up.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we're going to reset our minds for a moment. We're going to go to the NFL draft. We wanted to kind of hold on to this until David made it in. Let me play for you all the soundbite with which we began the show, because it really sets the mood as Kevin Costner as the GM of the Cleveland Browns in draft day.
Yeah, but you want him, Tom, don't you? Seahawk fans want a hero, and you denied him.
Not that bad.
Don't lie to me. I checked all the Seahawk fan blogs and chat rooms. They're all calling for your head. Ever since you traded away Callahan, the barbarians are at the gate.
I don't care about that.
Yeah, you do. You and I both know it. I have the golden ticket now, Tom, and if I give it to you, you get to save Seahawk football in Seattle.
We could just go on and on with the quotes. David Collins, what is your 1 through 10 level of anticipation and excitement on this eve of the NFL draft?
I got to be honest with you. I'm more of a watch it casually and check out who we got after it happens. I've never totally understood the excitement people get of like sitting there and like waiting for their pick. The problem is like, as a Lions fan, so many times we get the guy that fell a little bit that we think is going to be the star, and then they don't end up doing anything. Or we're in desperate need of a position like an offensive tackle, and we wind up taking a tight end anyways. So I'm just kind of, I'm wait and see, because I know that with the draft, there's always the two mentalities. Do you draft for need, or you draft best player available? And Brad Holmes and the Lions have shown they're a best player available type drafting system, and you'd rather have depth all across the board. So I like that strategy, and so I'm going to trust that that's the way they're going to go tomorrow.
Bro, I think I can help you with your draft night enthusiasm. I did a little homework today. Actually, I got the crack research department of Churchview Sports on this task. Did you know that the hats that the guys wear when they come out as first-round draft picks, that they have unique decorations, patterns on the inside of those hats? They're special draft night edition hats, and each team has a special deal. So I went through and I looked them all up, and I just thought you guys might be interested in knowing or trying to guess what a couple of them are. Like the Bears, of course, that's the first one I looked up. It's a flag of the city of Chicago. They're trying to send a statement about this is the Chicago Bears, not the Hammond, Indiana Bears or the Arlington Heights, Illinois Bears or whatever. And it says, and then there's a phrase on there that says Monsters of the Midway. That's what's inside the hat that whoever the Bears draft is out there. Can you guess what's going on inside the hat of whoever the Detroit Lions draft tomorrow?
Grit. It's got to be grit related, I would think. Randy?
I Restore the Roar, maybe. Could be one of those.
Yeah. That could be another one. Bites the dust, perhaps.
It's a computer-generated image of an engine, and the words on the brim, on the little brim inside the hat are Motor City. Right? The Cowboys have an American flag, and it says America's team because, of course, they do. The Packers have pictures of big piles of snow, and it says Go Pack Go. The Kansas City Chiefs have a picture of the Players Tunnel at Arrowhead Stadium, and it says Chiefs Kingdom on the inside of their hat. This one's my favorite. What can you take a swing at what's on the inside of a hat that like Mendoza's going to get tomorrow night when he gets drafted by the Raiders?
Oh, Randy, this is you. This is your home game. I would guess all of Vegas is poised on the edge of their seats for the first pick in the draft.
Oh boy, aren't they? Not really. Everybody's trade down. But,
really?
They could also draft a kicker like Sebastian Janikowski. Remember back then?
Yeah.
When they drafted first,
what do you think? What's in the hat?
That's right. So a Raiders hat has a big pile of skulls on the inside of the hat. Don't ask me why. And then the last one I looked up was the Minnesota Vikings. They have two ships from the series Game of Thrones, and it says skull on the brim.
I looked up one, Paul, while you were doing that. I looked up the Jets, and inside the Jets hat it says sorry. Just everywhere, just repeatedly says sorry.
I actually think that's a pretty interesting, cool little thing that the NFL does, but you would never know that unless you were like a geek and reading about the draft before the draft happened, because it's not like guys are going like this, going, look inside my hat,
Yeah, right.
Well, Bill, I looked up Cleveland, and it had LOL in the inside.
Yeah, same. So. Those two came from the same vendor, I do believe. I'm actually a little bit surprised, David, that this isn't the appointment viewing that I thought it would be for you. I don't know why I thought that, but I just thought it would be a big deal for you to hunker down with your multiple screens and your legal pads, and you would be doing ratings as you go and maybe faxing them, yes, over to Mel Kiper.
Got a fax.
Who doesn't have a fax? Over to Kiper.
I would say that, I used to be a lot more into it until I kind of realized, when they start stretching it out, day one is just round one on Thursday, and then just round two. It's like it's just kind of it's too much. Just do
way too
2 days. Give me 2-3 rounds one day, and then give me the rest of the draft the next day. I'm not going to paint myself up and go down to where the draft is happening and cheer on when this fourth round pick is taken. I have no idea who it is. I'll read up on the guys when they're done and be happy or upset once I realize if I feel like it was a good pick or not.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of good pick or not, biggest bust pick of all time. Who's your name with years now to reflect upon it? Not just 1 year, but 5-10 years later or more. Who's your all-timer for the man? You guys completely blew that one. Randy, what do you got?
So it can be anybody. Doesn't have to be number one overall.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm going with the Green Bay Packers because they could have drafted Neon Deion Sanders. They could have drafted Barry Sanders, but they went with the pride of the Spartans, Tony Mandrich.
That's who I had written.
He was going to be the tackle for the for a generation, and he was probably a fine player. To be fair, he probably gets a lot more. It's just probably bad luck for him that Dion and Barry could have also been taken in that round, and they chose Tony.
He also had to stop juicing when he got to the NFL, and that was what ended his career.
Yeah, I remember he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and the headline was "The Incredible Bulk." He looked like an Adonis statue on that cover, but he actually, Randy, didn't do well in the NFL because he was then suffering from dizziness and vertigo, and it was largely attributed to him no longer being able to juice. And he was my list as the biggest bust ever. Paul, do you have somebody different?
I do. And the first name that came to mind immediately when I saw that you were going to ask me this question was the Jamarcus Russell, like number one overall to the Raiders. Yeah. Randy, to the Raiders, Jamarcus Russell to me is the biggest bust. When you go that high with a QB and he ends up being nothing, guys like Ryan Leaf and others, but Jamarcus Russell, number one overall, that's the one that came to mind immediately.
Did he kind of eat himself out of football? Was he just like incredibly out of shape, if I recall correctly?
I think so.
He definitely got bigger, but I mean, he just had a big arm. The Raiders are all about who's the fastest guy and who has the biggest arm. That's all they care about for some reason for so many years. That it's going to be interesting this year when they actually go get Mendoza. That's going to be the corniest quarterback room of all time, right? Mendoza and Kirk Cousins.
How about Randy, is Vegas ready for Kirk Cousins and Mendoza? I mean, they could very well lead a revival in the city, which would be wonderful. But I mean, these guys are not the Vegas. This isn't Broadway Joe coming to town.
Well, they had David Carr. David Carr is also very outspoken Christian and had a lot. He actually did do a men's. He had several different men's weekend things when he was in town. So, and he spoke at our church once. So that's not unlike Vegas quarterbacks in the past.
Yeah.
But hopefully we don't run him out like we did Derek.
Right.
Hey, little aside, did you guys see Justin I live in Minnesota now. Did you see Justin Jefferson's quote when the Vikings got Kyler Murray?
Oh,
he's doing a presser, and he goes, he basically says, "Yeah, man, I go out to practice, and you can see that guy's talented. It's nice to have a talented quarterback. JJ better show up."
Yes, he did say that.
It was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Good for him, though. Good for him.
Well, I guess he's not wrong given the brief track record of JJ. David, your biggest bust.
Yeah, I've got the biggest bust, and then I have one just Lions pick that I hated. So I mean, to me, the first name that comes to mind is Ryan Leaf taking over Peyton Manning. We all know how that went. I think that's legitimately the worst pick maybe of all time. But I wanted to throw a Lions one out there because in 2014, with the 10th overall pick, the Lions selected tight end from North Carolina, Eric Ebron. Players that went directly after.
Oh no!
Players that went directly after him.
No.
Taylor Lewan, most likely a Hall of Fame left tackle. Odell Beckham, he was great, obviously. Aaron Donald.
Oh.
All right. Oh. Who he was pretty good for a minute. Kyle Fuller, to the Bears, who was an excellent corner. And Zach Martin, who's going to be a Hall of Fame tackle for the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow.
Those were the picks directly after Eric Ebron. You could not have missed with any of them. The one guy you could have missed with was Eric Ebron. Ooh. So that one always stings whenever.
That's like the Bears drafting Mitch Trubisky number 2 overall when Mahomes is sitting there waiting to be picked, right?
David, was that Matt Millen?
2014?
I can't remember.
Yeah, if it was, I mean, it might have been right after Matt Millen, but it was around that area. Man. Well, how long did he stay after the 0-16? Because that was in 2008, right?
Yes. Yeah, I can't remember. It's all a blur it's all a blur in your book. your forthcoming book.
Got the outlines.
So we have, we talked before David joined us, we talked about the changing world of athletic directors in college sports. Well, the world of this NIL era also does have an impact on who's going to be entering the draft and who's going to stay in college a little bit longer. How has, and Paul, we'll start with you, how has NIL kind of changed the draft? And is it just the later rounds, or is it the entire draft with kind of the butterfly effect of who's in it?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the entire draft or if it's just the later rounds, but clearly guys can stay in college longer now and make comparable money. Like I found a couple stats. Prior to 2024, the average draft board, like top Mel Kiper's whatever draft board on going into draft night, 4% of the players were 24 years or older prior to 2024. The last 2 years, that number's up to 18%. That's humongous. So what that means is that that prospects are staying in school 5-6 years, and they're coming out, and it helps guys that are quarterbacks. Like it helped Mendoza. I think you can make that case. So that's one, I think, definite effect, that there are guys that are just getting drafted at an older age, so they're coming in with a little more mileage on them, and there's probably fewer prospects, which is why guys talk about how in the later rounds of the draft, there's a lot more reaches and a lot fewer guys that teams are interested in or excited about drafting because they're staying in school. They're just staying in school. Yeah. And it's a much more confusing thing. So check this out. I was reading about Ty Simpson today, right? Like he was offered $6 million by Miami to stick around for another year, for a 6th year or whatever it was, go play at Miami. That's 3 times what he's going to make if he gets picked in the 2nd round this year.
And he's not going to get cut by Miami. He's not going to sit on the bench at Miami. So he'll be making the money and he'll be playing as well. They asked him why he came out and left all that money on the table. And the answer was basically because next year, Arch, Dante Moore, Julian Sand, the quarterback class next year is a little more competitive. And so he's coming out earlier to make his money and get into his rookie contract and get his career started because he doesn't think he'll have a shot at being the number 2 quarterback taken in the draft next year. It's fascinating. So, David, does that whole thing also mean that a player might be more ready to play when he gets to the NFL because he's got 1 or 2 years more at the college level than he might normally?
Yeah, I would say definitely. I mean, you're also getting guys who, because you can transfer, you're getting guys who are being coached up by several different systems. So they're learning different nuances of things. They're getting different coaches' perspectives. So I think that their training is a lot better. And since they're getting to play a little bit longer and they're a little bit older, that when they get into the league, they're a little bit more ready for what's coming. Like physically, they're not being overwhelmed now when they go to the NFL from, like, if you're a junior jumping to the NFL, you're now, 25, 26 years old when you're getting there. So, I mean, I think that's especially good for the trenches. I don't know if it's as smart for skill position players because, you want as much of their primes as you can get. But like trench guys, a guard can play, till he's 35, 37 years old a lot of times. But, if you're a wide receiver, you're starting to wind down. But I mean, I think it's going to be fascinating because now guys can literally just not go because they don't want to go to the team that's going to draft them, which I think is interesting, because like, who knows, in the next 2, 3, 4 years, Trinidad Chambliss may just keep coming back to college football, right. Until he gets the team he wants to go to.
That's their own version of free agency, I would think. So we think about the eligibility rules and all the transfers, and some guys might even still be in college because of a COVID extension, that kind of thing. Randy, do you think there's a positive side to considering 5 years to play for and you're done no matter what at the college level?
Yeah, no, I do. I think that whether 5 years is the right number or 6, I don't like, because I think the 5-year proposal said that there'll be no, medical red shirts or whatever. You think you might still want to have some sort of exception for that. But I do think there is something to that. I mean, because again, we're dealing with, as we're talking about, as David says, young talent, like wide receivers are out there at 18 and they're playing against 24-year-olds. That becomes a pretty big disparity between talent levels. And I just think that it's nice and it would be nice to have a nice outside limit so that everyone knows the rules and knows what they're dealing with, and then they can move on to the NFL. And who knows, because they get money and they stay, maybe some of these people will actually care about a degree and get college while they're there.
Yeah, that's how you avoid Trinidad Chambliss that you mentioned, right? Where he's like, what was his deal? Like Ole Miss, he sued the NCAA because they wouldn't give him a 6-year of eligibility in some court in Mississippi. Mm-hmm. Wow. Ruled in his favor. That's fascinating. Wow. Go figure, right? I mean, it's funny.
A jury of his peers, I'm sure.
Yeah.
As anybody, I mean, I know that there aren't a lot of big names in this draft. Is anybody here expecting any sort of a big surprise? I mean, I think it's a given that Mendoza goes first to the Raiders. And Randy, you kind of hinted that the town is not really that fired up about any of this. And I don't know, are the Raiders, have they not yet won over Vegas as their hometown after just a couple of years? Or is it the Mendoza thing that doesn't have them excited?
I don't, Michelle would be a great one to answer this question, but if she was here. But I think in general, the town has not really embraced the Raiders all that much. I mean, they're packed. All the games are packed because, the NFL travels well, and there's a ton of Raiders, but a lot of the Raiders fans are driving over from L.A. I mean, there's a lot of people in this town actually that wanted the Chargers to move here as opposed to the Raiders because there's a lot of Charger fans in Vegas. I don't know exactly the history behind that, but the mayor of Vegas was a Chargers fan. So there's a big push to get the Chargers to move here back when they were looking at who was going to go into the stadiums. And the Raiders had used to be in LA. So it made perfect sense because LA wanted the Raiders back. But I think everybody embraced the Golden Knights for sure because they're, born in Vegas, first professional team to take a chance, really. The WNBA had come, the first major of the 4 major sports teams of men to come to town. Everybody embraced them and really, really got behind them. But I think people view the Raiders as transplants, and I think they're kind of that way. I think that'll be the same way it is with the Athletics when they come too as well. I think they will embrace the NBA very, very much, however, especially if it's an expansion team.
Yeah, that shouldn't lend itself to any gambling issues. Can you real quickly just name for me your favorite 3 Vegas WNBA players, Randy?
No, I cannot.
Okay, I just kind of curious. David, for our Detroit Lions, I'm not going to ask you names, but what position would you
Asia Wilson.
You looked
got one.
Stop looking things up. What position would you most like to see them address aggressively in this draft? I won't ask you for names.
Yeah, it's got to be offensive line. Losing Ragnow in that weird thing, and then Decker in that weird way. It's like, I assume you move Penne over to left tackle. He's obviously great. But we need some depth there. And we had some good things like Christian Mahogany or whatever showed some sparks. Tate Ratledge showed that he has some consistency, but those are more inside guards. We really need help at the tackle position. So I think we need to go after that aggressively. And then also secondary is probably another one that we need to look at, and linebacker I think would be the third. Because, without Anzalone anchoring the middle, we still got some decent players there, but, cornerback, depending on what happens with the Terry and Arnold situation, and then linebacker. But ultimately, I think offensive line, and because I just don't assume we're not going to get a serious edge rusher.
Yeah, you may be right. Paul, nobody on this podcast has a favorite team that just delivered for them more heart-stopping, thrilling wins last season than your Bears. So it's clear the Bears have no needs, correct? You're good to go? You're just going to bypass all the draft picks?
Yeah, I think they're just going to trade down and trade down and trade down. No, the Bears picked 25th, so that means we're into David Collins yawn territory in the draft already by the time you get to pick 25, So, but interestingly, I would say this very similar set of things for the Bears as you were just saying for the Lions, bro. Like the Bears Their left tackle, Ozzie Trapilo, just got hurt, so they don't know when he's coming back, so they need a left tackle. They need an edge rusher. They don't know if they're going to get any kind of quality D-line players still available by the time they pick 25, and they need a safety because Jaquan Brisker just moved on. So those are the places where the Bears could use some help. It's funny, the Bears have kind of graduated up now to a team that actually just needs help on the O-line and the D-line. Like their skill position guys are kind of locked in. It's new territory for me as a Bears fan.
I think that's actually fascinating because where the Bears finished and where the Lions finished, the Bears are going to have a much more difficult schedule.
I was just going to say that.
Season because they're going to be playing, and the Lions right now are projected to have the easiest schedule in the league this year because they finished so far. They finished last in the division, so it's like, I mean, just that alone might expose new things that the Bears didn't realize they need help with. But I think Caleb Williams is excellent, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, losing DJ Moore too, it's kind of an interesting one because he really came on near the end of the season for you guys. But I think he's going to have a good season in Buffalo. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what just having a harder schedule and having an easier schedule are going to do for the teams in the North Division.
Yeah.
All right, that's NFL draft talk. Let's go on to our. By the way, I think we solved it. And there are. By the way, if you were looking for Church Pew Sports to do like a pick by pick predictive analysis, there are 4,000 mock draft podcasts out there, and they're all wrong. So why would we even enter that territory when we can have our conversations kind of about the zeitgeist of the draft and of the league and that kind of thing? I don't want to go pick by pick.
I think the one really interesting thing to me is how, like, where does Jeremiah Love go? Just to see who is actually like valuing a young running back coming out versus going with depth. Because we saw what happened with who's the Raiders, Ashton Genty.
Yep.
Because he wasn't the problem. It was that O-line was terrible. He was getting hit before he got to the line on like 80% of his touches. Yes. So I'm fascinated to see kind of like the evolving view of running backs throughout the NFL. It used to be don't get one or whatever, just throw a guy back there. And then it was like, no, you got to pay your guys, you got to pay your Jahmyr Gibbs and your Derrick Henrys. And so it's like, I don't know. It's such an evolving world with running backs. I find that fascinating. So that'll be interesting to see.
And I'm sure the other thing you guys are all waiting with great anticipation is to see if something that hasn't happened, and I think it was 35 years, happens with one college program putting 4 picks in the top 10. I'm sure you're all waiting anxiously to see if that actually.
That'd be awesome, actually.
Yeah, I've got a tally board ready to just mark them off as they go.
Hey, by the way, who are those? I mean, Caleb Downs,
Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, Carnell Tate.
Yeah,
that's projected to go in the top 10.
They're all pretty good ball players right there.
Yeah,
they're all pretty good, yeah.
They sure are, as we got to see firsthand. All right, let's shift over into our holy discontent.
It's time to blow off some steam. Get it off your chest. Rant about what's most bothering you.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
It's time for Holy Discontent.
Randy Gilmer, why don't you lead us off in the world of holy discontent?
Oh, boy. I got to stick with my love of Detroit. I got some holy discontent going on. I mean, Stevie Y, as much as I love them, the Red Wings with their collapse for the second year in a row in March, I just doesn't seem to see what's happening there. So I think that leads my holy discontent.
David, is that blasphemy? Is that heresy? Or is that fair?
Listen, Steve Yzerman's my favorite athlete of all time. My favorite number is 19. I love him. He's beautiful and wonderfully made. I'm very, very frustrated. The team has no identity and no toughness. I mean, the grind line, think back to the grind line. Think back to like something that who's the guy stepping up to fight somebody? Like there's no identity. It's just a bunch of guys that play hockey. It makes me sad.
Yeah.
Well, while you're on a roll, what's your holy discontent?
So my holy discontent is going to be, FIFA, soccer in general in a lot of ways. This was supposed to be the year after this was supposed to be the golden generation for U.S. men's soccer. We have better players that are playing over in actual like good leagues over in Europe, and you look and it's Christian Pulisic hasn't scored a goal in like his last 10 international matches. You know, like what? And then on top of that, so you don't have the buzz of the team is actually good. They never know who they want to coach. They never know what style they want to play. You know, are they going to stay back on D and then make runs? Or are they going to try to pass the ball and be Brazil and pass it all? Like what? They don't know what style. It's just unfortunate. Like, this was supposed to be the thing that propelled soccer into the consciousness. And then on top of the team being frustrating, you have FIFA coming in and making it impossible for anyone to go to any of these games.
Yes.
Because they're running the secondary market. Like I was saying before, they created their own market and said all sales that you want to make, secondary sales, have to be made through our market. And as I said before, they are charging the person who is selling the ticket like 15% on top of what they're selling. And then there's also charging the person buying it 15%. So they're taking 15% off both ends. And these tickets, which normally would have cost, you know, it's a World Cup, so they would have cost $145 or something for a ticket. They're all like over $1,000 now. Like nobody can even go. And this was supposed to be a big deal for America. It's so sad and it's so on brand for them.
FIFA once again making the Gotti family jealous with their creative financing of things. That's for sure.
It's unbelievable. It is criminal. Like it should be prosecuted. Randy, get on that.
Yeah, what are you doing out there in Vegas? My holy discontent is the NFL viewing experience has now gotten so disjointed that it has led to congressional involvement. That's what will fix it as Congress gets involved investigating the potential antitrust situation with the NFL, because to watch all the games, I should say, you could have to spend a little over $1,000 just to get the various, I think, 8 or 9 networks that will carry games. Here's Clay Travis with a couple thoughts.
I want to be able to sit down with one remote control in my hand, Martha.
Oh, good luck with that.
And I want to be able to watch every game. I don't want to have to remember passwords. I don't want to have to go from one streaming service to another.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to try to figure it out. And I think I am like almost every sports fan out there
100%.
when I say that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the sports fan in me.
Mm-hmm.
What you just put up on the graphic is the frustrating thing. Now you are having to pay for multiple streaming services. And let me be clear about this. A lot of us sign up for streaming services and then we forget we are paying for those streaming services until we suddenly start getting our credit card bills and we look at them and we say, wait a minute. They told us that when cable went away and we started to get streaming that we were all going to save money. The reality is we're all paying for way more.
That is indeed the reality. So just real quickly, one of my wish list items is for somebody out there who's really smart. I understand we're not going to stop all of the NFL selling its rights to anybody with a checkbook. Can somebody just please create a single outlet where I can easily and quickly switch back and forth between games? So, you know, YouTube TV would have the major networks and you can do it there, but can somebody roll into that like Prime or somebody roll it so that listen, that's what the viewing experience is. It's not making me watch for the 48th time the commercial for Jeep. It's letting me pop around during the games. And so the NFL, there's some fable about the goose and the golden egg. Whatever the case is, their greed is going to be their demise at some point. Not anytime soon, but some point. Paul, you're wholly discontent.
Yeah, I'm still getting over Clay Travis because I agree with every stinking word that he just said. You know, my holy discontent is with Rich Eisen.
Uh-oh.
And here's the thing, right? Like the NFL Network gets bought out by ESPN, so now Eisen is popping up on various ESPN shows here and there. And I caught he was interviewing a number of high draft prospects. So he's talking to Mendoza, and Mendoza says, yeah, it would be an honor to play for Tom Brady. And Eisen just gushes and gushes and gushes about Brady, the best Michigan quarterback ever. And all of a sudden he's talking about Michigan while Mendoza just sits there and goes, okay. Then he has Carnell Tate on, and he decides that he's going to channel his inner Desmond Howard and make wildly inappropriate comments about Michigan's rival at a time when it's supposed to be about the player. So he starts saying to Carnell Tate, so why'd you go to Ohio State in the first place? And Tate just kind of looks at him and goes, because it's wide receiver you, and I wanted to he gives the answer, right? I wanted to prepare myself to make the league. And Eisen looks back at him and goes, well, yeah, they're kind of done, right? Now that Brian Hart, he's doing a Desmond Howard, CJ Stroud, wildly inappropriate dig at his favorite team's rival at the expense of the poor player who's sitting there. I can handle Eisen when he's hosting the draft. I'll bet the over on how many times he makes a snide comment about Ohio State in front of the crowd. That doesn't really bother me so much because he's just having fun and it's all in whatever. But when he takes shots, when he's supposed to be letting a player have their moment, Carnell Tate is sitting there and he's going, how am I supposed to respond to this? Exactly like CJ Stroud is trying to figure out how to respond to Desmond Howard at the Heisman ceremony. It bugs me to no end when guys let their fandom of their program make them forget that it's not about them. Rich, be better. We don't need another Desmond Howard. One Desmond Howard is too many in the first place. Just be better.
Randy, you have Eisen's phone number, right? Could you just shoot him a text and let him know that he's crossed some lines for our buddy?
I don't, but I'm sure Paul could reach out to the one Ohio State person that's in the media maybe and point that out.
Herbie?
Yeah, I didn't even talk about Herbie and how he shows wild restraint, but we won't go there.
David, anything you want to add to Paul's holy discontent before we move to our message to close it out?
No, I think he pretty much nailed it. It's unfortunate when people are obnoxious. I think this all changed because it used to be in the media that you tried to keep a level of, not leaning one way or the other. And it was a few years back, I remember Michael Wilbon went on, pardon the interruption, with a Chicago Cubs jersey on that he had tucked into jeans. Bad look. But it was the first time I've seen a reporter who's supposed to be, on the level with everybody, just openly show his fandom. And it's not that we didn't know these people were fans of teams, but it's it affected how he would speak about the Cubs or talk about certain things. And then all of a sudden, it's just kind of gotten to a point with now podcasts, everybody's just freewheeling, allowed to say whatever they want. This is the team Stephen A. Smith is a huge Knicks fan. And it's and they talk about their favorite. It's just it used to be something like you're saying about Rich Eisen. It used to be you just didn't go there and push. Desmond Howard's different. He's on, game day and stuff like that. He's supposed to be somewhat obnoxious. That's kind of the gimmick for that. But no, I mean, I don't see any issues with what you're saying, especially when it's really making players uncomfortable and not certain where to even go with its specific answers.
I'm surprised to a small degree that Ohio State athletes are not prepped better to punch back at Rich when he does that. Just whatever the coaching looks like, you just come back with, I'm just here to talk, there are ways to have some fun with it without, taking it too seriously. But a point well taken, although I don't think I can put Rich all the way into the Dez category because Rich doesn't cackle every third sentence.
No, so. Rich Eisen is normally good. That's why it's frustrating to me when he decides he's going to stoop down. And Ohio State players are taught not to respond, just to let it ride, which you can argue whether or not that's a good thing. Yeah. But CJ Stroud was killed for not responding to Dez at the Heisman ceremony. And he's like, I was told be above it. Just take the high road.
Yeah, plus you're at the Heisman ceremony. What are you going to do? All right, in the interest of time, we're going to jump ahead and close things out with the 3-minute message.
Homer, I'd like you to remember Matthew 7:26. The foolish man who built his house on sand.
And you remember Matthew 21:17.
And he left them and went out of the city into Bethany, and he lodged there?
Yeah. Think about it.
Think about it. All right. So I actually enjoy the NFL draft. It's on my bucket list of sports events that I want to experience at least once in my lifetime. I enjoy the ramp up to it. I don't sit around and watch mock drafts or do all that stuff. I don't watch videos on YouTube of Joel Klatt and everyone else changing their mind from week to week, depending on the intel that they've gotten and all that other stuff. But what's interesting to me is that every single one of the guys that's going to be chosen in the NFL draft is chosen for a purpose. like you'll interview the GM and the head coach afterwards, and they'll be like, this is exactly what we hope this guy's going to do for us and blah, blah, blah. There's always a reason. They're not just getting chosen for their potential. They're getting chosen to play a very specific role on the team. And that's fascinating to me. It makes me think of Ephesians 2:10, quite honestly. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. So I just wanted all of us to take a lesson from what we're going to see on draft night, is that we are all chosen as children of God. We're all chosen for a purpose, not just for our potential. God has a plan for each one of us, and we need to pursue that purpose with everything that's within us, because he deserves that. So that's my word for us this week. I'm going to be thinking about that as every other draft pick gives glory to God and talks about that. And then they talk about what role they hope they're going to play on their team. We have all been created for good works, which God has prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. So let's walk in them. There you go.
Well said. Very good stuff. And to the future draft picks for both the Browns and with the what was the message inside the Browns? LOL? Is that what you had there?
LOL.
And for the
LOL,
Jets,
right.
with the sorry message inside the hats. Hang in there, boys. At least you're gonna get paid. You may not enjoy yourself, but this draft is a life-changing experience for really any young man who has his name called, whether or not we think that he was the right pick. It's a pretty big culmination of a very cool journey.
The Browns should draft Diego Pavia so that he and Shador can be in the QB room together. That would be beautiful.
We'd put some cameras in that room. That'd be fun. Yeah. All right, Randy, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us. Much appreciated. David, thanks for checking in. And again, well done getting the Pistons win, man. That was key. That was vital.
Thank you. And I couldn't end without saying at least this. That guy is Kevin McGonigal. He's awesome.
Oh, man.
Favorite baseball player ever. Best hitter of all time. Tigers are going to the World Series. It's over, baby. Count it.
Rookie of the year. Check us out on churchpewsports.com and follow us on Facebook and X. We'll talk to you again next week with another episode of Church Pew Sports.